Hello everybody and welcome to another video. We got a car driving by. Lovely. Anyway, welcome back to another video. We're going to be taking a close look at my top 10 list for classified figures of 2023. So this video is going to go up later in early January of 2024, but you know, just to recap on my favorite figures of 2023, and there is a lot, as you can see, going on, but I think I managed to narrow it down to my favorites, because there was a lot of great stuff for 2023. Very hard to decide which figure is better and all that kind of stuff. But these figures really stood out to me. I really enjoyed, posing them. Just, they look great on the shelf, and that is why they are on the top 10. They each look very unique. I mean, as the other Joes do as well, but I don't know, something about these few characters that really stood out to me, and I really enjoyed them overall. And so yeah, let's get started with number 10. So number 10, we do have Torpedo here, and I believe he was with the Rock and Roll wave, which also included, I believe, Bazooka, Copperhead, and Shipwreck, which that wave was amazing, and they knocked it out of the park. But here with Torpedo, I really love what they did with him. The loadout is amazing. You get your harpoon gun, which is not present. I mean, I have it stored away. You have his flippers that are removable. The sort of face mask or gas or oxygen mask that is also removable and attachable to the back piece. The back piece itself is another separate, accessory. You have a cool submachine gun with the removable mag. I added the suppressor from one of the Arctic Bats, sniper silencer thing that they have. So modified the submachine gun a little bit. And yeah, he's just great. You have different alternatives for display options with the mask, without the mask, with the flippers, without the flippers, without his back piece, and all that sort of stuff. And he's our first, it's sort of aquatic trooper, and they did a good job with the mold, the sculpt, and everything. I think he turned out great. And then they later reused all that for the eels, which a lot of people may say is better than Torpedo, but I prefer Torpedo. The eels are kind of hard to get. I only managed to get one, but yeah, Torpedo takes the number 10 spot. Let's move on to number 9. For number 9, we have Firefly here, and once he was revealed in the digital renders, everybody went sort of crazy, and we all wanted this guy, and he turned out excellent. At least I think, other than the wobbly torso, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, he turned out great. He has a great loadout. You get a knife, a submachine gun, a few mines, the little remote car, which is also storable on his back piece, and then you get the controller to detonate the little RC car, pair of goggles, and then obviously his back piece. Another downside of this figure was his sort of cartoony face, or eyes or face, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he turned out great. I really loved posing him and taking pictures of him, setting up the mines and just explosions all over or around him. A few modifications I did was put the knife sheath on his belt on the back, and that's about it for modifications, and nothing too crazy. But yeah, I did not like how it bothered, or was, those armor pieces were kind of covering his arms. Wanted something a bit more classic, so just remove those. you get a sleeved Firefly. But as you can see there, I also use this sort of blast effects to, you know, resemble the RC car kind of exploding from the bottom. But yeah, Firefly is a great figure, and I really love taking pictures of it. Just looks great on the shelf as well, and you know it beats the Cobra Island one. This is as vintage as we can get with our new modern Firefly. But anyway, on to number 8. For number 8, we do have Rat here, and he's a great figure. Just, you know, I mean, he's also one of my favorite characters, so I may be a little biased there. But I love the loadout that he comes with. Just to get a quick look, we do have his back piece here with the 2 flashlights, very vintage inspired. We have this new set of, you know, night vision goggles, which is always appreciated. We get a cool knife, a cool revolver here, a snub revolver, and then a big old M60 light machine gun weapon there. And then the only downside a lot of people have with is, you know, all the different straps and stuff, you know, that shift all over the place. And then I added the M60 with the strap as well. I really don't mind it, honestly. It's not too in the way. I couldn't get as many pictures with this guy because of that same reason, all this stuff. But he's still very cool to see on the shelf. He stands out because he is one of the shorter ones on the shelf, or in general throughout all the classified series. He's one of the shorter characters, which, you know, kind of fits him. You know, he is a short guy. He has some cool decals going for him, some amazing paint apps, you know, with the war paint and stuff. And, you know, that resemblance to Larry Hama is there, and so that's always cool to see. But yeah, Rat here takes the number 8 spot. I think it just came out great, and, you know, one of my favorite characters. We finally have him. Couldn't be any happier. Moving on to number 7. Number 7, I'm gonna have to give it to Big Ben here. He's another character I was really hoping we'd get, and we got him very early in the classified line. And this is time, it's his Night Force version, so we're still expecting to get his regular colored version, but they did an excellent job, and especially with those alternate heads, you can have some random troopers. So as you can see here, I took advantage of that troop building kind of feature. You know, I cut up some parts that were already on the figure and, you know, just sort of modified them a bit to make them unique and different from each other. You know, giving one of them the dual submachine guns, one of them is a light machine gunner, and then we have our regular Big Ben. But I really love how this guy turned out. The articulation was great. A lot of new pieces for the torso and whatnot. It's just a very fun figure to play with, and, you know, he's our first British Joe as well, so that's very fun to see. Accessories and loadout were fun, except for the fact that, you know, the LMGs were kind of warped out of the packaging, but he's just amazing. He's a great troop builder and solo character as well. Couldn't be any happier with this guy. He also has some cool decals on his shoulders and whatnot. Very cool figure and very cool character. Very happy to have him. Kind of lost count of what spot this is, but I think we're going on to number 6 or number 5. Let's see who that character is. So for number 6, we're on number 6. I have Buzzer here. Again, a lot of bias is going into this character. It's one of my favorite Dreadnoks, and I'm just so happy to have him here in Classified line, finally. But I think his loadout is amazing as well. You know, you get different sort of bladed weapons, the chainsaw being the best one out of those 30 weapons. You know, he still gets a knife and a pistol, which is very nice. And the removable glasses, which I have now glued on there just to, you know, I just prefer it with the glasses on. I don't think they should have gone through the effort of making them, you know, a removable piece. especially since they don't sit very well, on the head or the face. They don't really loop towards the ears, and even when they're glued down, it's like kind of missed a bit, but for the most part, they look fine. Um, some clever reuse, down in the legs. I don't mind the reuse. I think it looks great. And, he does get his own torso piece, which is very nice. Um, but yeah, I'm just happy to have him. He looks great. The paint apps came out amazing. He just looks incredible on the shelf. And yeah, he's one of my favorite classifieds of the year and favorite characters. So here he is on the number 6 spot. They could have improved on a few things, like I mentioned, the glasses, and they could have added, sort of a gas tank back piece for him, but they didn't. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I think a number 6 spot is very nice for him. Anyway, on to the halfway point, which is spot number 5. Now, Copperhead here takes my number 5 spot. Yeah, a lot of people don't like him, but I absolutely love this figure, this character. I think he looks great. We're gonna adjust some lighting just to get better lighting. I think it's too close, everything's too bright. But I think he came out amazing. Yeah, you can make fun of his giant boots, but at first I didn't mind them until people pointed it out, and yeah, they do seem a bit excessive. But you can always swap those out, heating up the figure and whatnot. But I just love taking pictures of this guy. I think I took a lot of outdoor pics with him, and they came out amazing. I love his loadout as well. You get 2 pistols, so you have his main revolver there with a giant scope on it, and his machete there. Not a lot of accessories, and here's another issue with separate parts. They just kind of go all over the place. But he turned out amazing. You have his tattoo, you have a unique belt piece there. I think a strong feature of this guy is that amazing head sculpt and the detail that is in that head sculpt. I really love it. And yeah, I'm just happy how he came out. I even considered buying the Python Patrol version. I saw it a few times in stores on the shelf, and I was like, it's very tempting, but I decided not to, since Python Patrol is something I don't really want to dive too deep into, especially since there's already so many other figures that we need to collect. But Copperhead here, I'm very pleased with it, and I really love the figure and how it looks. With that being said, he is a number 5 on the list. Let's move on to number 4. Or 3, 4, I lost count. Alright, so number 4, we do have Ripper, another Dreadnought who was more towards the end of 2023 alongside Buzzer. What can I say? They really knocked it out of the park with these Dreadnoughts, and I think each of their loadouts is very unique. He has a cool pistol with a sort of knife attached to the end of it. Sorry. He does have his Jaws of Life, which articulate and is very fun to pose. He has a very cool rifle that attaches to his back, and then he has a cool sort of Bowie knife with the guard for the handle. And there's just a lot of crazy ton of detail with this guy, from tattoos, dog tags, grenades, and just spikes everywhere. Some crazy hairdo. Again, removable glasses, but these ones do function on the figure. And yeah, he's just very, as I was saying, he's just very fun to look at. And he just poses well. He's plenty of fun to pose around. He's fun to look at on the shelf. They did a very good job with this Dreadnought. Couldn't be happier with him. And that's why he's in the number 4 spot. Squeezing into to the third spot, it was between Ripper and Rock and Roll. Honestly, you can interchange them because this is one of the greatest Joe members that we've gotten out of 2023. He just looks amazing. Tons of accessories. We get a pistol, removable walkie-talkie. We get, his M60 with the massive bullet belt, and then we still have, his magazine for his LMG with, removable bullets in there. He has a removable helmet. Um, and then he comes with alternate hands as well. You get a fist, and then you get these cool rock and roll hand. It's just very awesome, very rock and rolly. He introduced a new mold for the body, boots, and stuff. He's just a great character and figure. He's fun to pose. He's fun to look at. He's one of the original 13 members, so we're adding to that original 13 Joe team. But this guy came out great. Just to get a closer look, we have those crazy tattoos going on. We have a phenomenal head sculpt, great tattoos on this side, and I know his vintage one has full green shirt. I don't mind having the tan because it kind of breaks it up and it just adds a little more color to him. But yeah, this guy takes the number 3 spot. He is amazing and just a very fun figure to have, so I highly recommend him, especially since he's on the number 3 spot for me. That is rock and roll. Let's move on to number 2. In the number 2 spot, we do have Scrap Iron, and he's not in frame, but Scrap Iron here, what can I say, man? I mean, they knocked it out of the park with this guy. Just to quickly do a quick mini review on him. We have this updated missile launcher here, drone, which I believe they labeled as a pet. You have your remote control, you have your removable missiles. This turns and swivels and pivots, and it has great articulation to pose with Scrap Iron. You do have the missile effects, which, to resemble the rockets shooting out, which I don't have with me at the time, but we even have these sort of blast effect pieces that go very well with the drone here. And Scrap Iron himself is a very awesome looking figure, although mine has, wobbly helmet syndrome, so that's kind of wobbly. I don't know how wobbly others are, but it still looks fantastic. And underneath there you get a beautifully sculpted face with a very good looking scar on that side of his face and other scars on this side. But I do have him with the helmet on, just because that's his original traditional look, is having the helmet. But you get some nice Cobra logos all around to this guy, and the colors just pop. It's that classic blue and red coloring. And then he also came with his own pistol. I added a submachine gun for some extra firepower. He articulates well. He also introduced a new sort of body mold, which we recently saw reused with Wolf Spider. But overall, Scrap Iron came out amazing. Nice blend of modern and vintage, and I couldn't be any happier with this guy. He is one of the figures I did not get to really take a whole lot of pictures of, but once I do get the time to really set this guy up, he's an amazing figure. With that being said, he takes the number 2 spot on my list, and let's move on to number 1. The number 1 spot goes to Snow Job here, and what can I say? They really did a good job with this guy. He is that deluxe price range, just like Scrap Iron, so is it fair that the deluxe has got a higher spot? I mean, it's kind of a natural thing to to do, especially since the deluxes, you know, they go above and beyond to make them good and give them a great set of loadout. And snow job here is no exception. I live in the desert. I hardly ever see snow, and this guy made it to my #1 list. He's just amazing to look at. His loadout is amazing. There are a few issues, you know, like the skirt piece kind of being in the way of, you know, the legs and stuff. But other than that, he turned out amazing. You have his backpack, which can carry a lot of his accessories. You know, you have your 2 poles and your 2 skis, I guess you could call them. And then you can also attach your snowshoes onto that back piece. He comes with the pistol and his sniper rifle. He comes with an alternate head with, you know, without the sort of, I don't know what gear you would call it, but without the sort of mask or head thing, you know, so his hair is all exposed. You know, he comes with the removable glasses. He comes with the hooded down piece option. And yeah, so there's just a lot of options and ways to display this guy. A lot of people complain about it having too many accessories, and let me just say, too many accessories is not an excuse to pass on this guy or to hate on the figure. The more accessories, the better. For the longest time, I didn't know how to display him, but I ended up going with this sort of look, you know, him sort of bolting his sniper, is that the correct term? Bolting, I'm not even sure. Cocking, I'm not sure. But I have him there with his snowshoes on, ready to go. You know, he's about to head out. So that's my #1 spot. I think they did a good job with Snow Job. His head sculpts are amazing and everything. The new pieces they used for his body mold are amazing. As always, some added, you know, sort of shading or weathering would have been nice for some of the leather pieces, or brown pieces, I should say, but it's not really necessary. This guy looks amazing, and he takes the #1 spot. So there does it. That's my top 10 figures of 2023 for the classified line. You may be wondering, why isn't the Hiss on the list? Because obviously that's gonna outbeat every other figure that came out, and it's not really a fair, you know, sort of comparison. You know, the HasLab came with 3 figures, so you have to include that into it. The tank itself, and I should actually say 4 figures because Cobra Commander is one of them. I didn't open mine. I explained that in the review, but yeah, I didn't include the HasLab because I think that's a bit unfair to just the regular figures that we got throughout the year. Other figures I considered for this list were Lowlight and Tonorat were kind of in and out, you know, swapping places, but I think, you know, Lowlight is a great figure. I just didn't have the time to really take pictures of him, so I think that's why I didn't really admire it as much as, you know, because it is a great figure, it looks great and has great accessories, but since I didn't really get to play with it or take pictures of it, it just didn't make my list. Grunt and Cover Girl. I know a lot of people don't like Cover Girl. Sue me. I think she came out great, and the head sculpt looks great. Her accessories are also great, but, you know, she didn't make the list. Grunt, I was gonna say, is also great looking, you know, just a regular soldier dude in green. Didn't make the list because of the accessories being warped and whatnot, but, you know, other than that, he's also a great figure. Tripwire was another great one. He didn't make the list just because mine had a lot of QC with the back piece, you know, being bent, and the arm just pops off, which is annoying when you're trying to get him to pose around. So that's a big bummer, and that's why he didn't make it on the list. The Televiper and the Flight Pod could have made it to the list, but they used that horrible body, Lieutenant Falcon body mold for the legs, and I just hate the boots and legs that they used for that mold, and I really wish Hasbro can do something to fix it. The plastic is just way too pliable and too scary to, articulate. So that's why he didn't make the list. We have Helix, who was also very great, but again, we get an older body mold, which is pinned, which honestly I don't care too much about. But some updated pieces would have been nice. And the torso kind of lacks in articulation. There's not a lot of movement, or forward movement, I should say. Similar to the Valkyries, they just don't have that good torso movement, so that's why they didn't make the list. Snow Serpent, great loadout, great weapons and all that stuff. I think my issue with those were the hands. It's kind of tricky to get them to hold their weapons, especially the pistols. Could be just a me thing, but I don't know. That's what I experienced with the figure. The range Vipers look great, but the arm range going up absolutely sucks and just leads to warping in the bicep pegs, so that kind of killed the figure for me. And Agent, not Agent, I guess you should call him Chuckles. Chuckles, great figure, great looking figure. Just didn't make it on the list. I don't think he really stood out that much to me, but seeing him here from a distance, he looks all beat up, and he looks and is a great figure. So if you can get him, go ahead. But yeah, those are some other figures I wanted to sort of shout out and just give them some recognition, because I really enjoyed those figures. And I believe I'm missing a whole bunch other figures that I didn't bring down, but as long as the top 10 are here, that's all that matters. With that being said, leave your own top 10 list down in the comments below. We had a lot this year, so it's very hard to pick and choose, especially when some figures just go above and beyond, and they just introduce something new, or they just look very unique, or they're anticipated characters that you may have wanted. Let me know what your top 10 is down in the comments. This was mine, so again, this is my own personal list. So if your figure wasn't on here, don't be upset. This is my list. You can do your own list. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in a future video.